Since the murder of the three Israeli hostages by the IDF, there's been a lot of pressure put onto the Israeli government by Israelis wanting the hostages to be released, and it has worked. The Israeli government is now seeking to do some kind of hostage exchange because people can see that the Israeli government just going out and murdering everybody indiscriminately isn't bringing back the hostages, nor are killing the hostages.
Joining me now from Tel Aviv is NBC's Hallie Jackson. And Hallie, I want to start on the reaction in Israel to the deaths of these hostages. We saw those protest pictures over the weekend. What more have you been hearing in your reporting?
That's right. Yeah, we were there at those protests, Garrett, and there was anger. There was pressure that these hostage family members wanted to put on the Netanyahu government to get to a deal to try to get these hostages home. But one of the questions we had was, what do the family members of these three Israeli hostages who were killed, what do they think? I had the opportunity today to speak with two of them, the families of both Alon Shamriz and Samer Talalka as well. We were down in the south of Israel. We were in central Israel. The signs that you're showing, the signs that said SOS and help hostages, Alon Shamriz's father, Avi, told me that he recognized his son's handwriting, that his son wrote those. Here's what else he said. What is your message to the government? What is your message to the prime minister? What is your message to a country that knows your son's name now?
I'm going to say this government, you murdered my son twice. You let the Hamas take my son on October 7th, and you killed my son on December 14th.
That's pretty harsh. He doesn't see this as some kind of mistake like the Israeli government wants to claim, nor does he care that they're saying sorry. He feels like the Israeli government murdered his kid because that is what they did.
They cannot serve us. They don't deserve us as a country, as a community. They are not our leaders. They're thinking only on themselves, on their chairs, on their salaries. They are not thinking about the hostages. They are not thinking about us.
And he is correct about that. The people in the Israeli government, like Netanyahu, they don't care about hostages because if they did, they would have been doing more from the get-go to get the hostages released. And the IDF wouldn't just be, killing hostages that are asking for help.
His frustration, his pain, just so palpable there, Garrett, as was the pain of Leila Talalka, Samer's mother. She was, you just saw there, Alon Shamriz's father sitting Shiva. She was welcoming visitors to her home, including an Israeli politician who came to offer condolences. She rejected those condolences. And while we were there, she told him, and we happened to watch it as we were sitting in her living room, as she was on her couch greeting people, she said, I will never forgive anyone on this. She said, I hold out hope for hostages, for other people's hostages, but I have no hope left myself because her son is gone. And so I think that gives
The politicians have really shot themselves in the foot by allowing this to happen. Hopefully, more hopefully some of these politicians get ousted and better politicians get elected.
gives you a sense of just how raw the pain is here. And it may be a part of why you are seeing movement now, new movement, because, Garrett, for the first time in days, we can say there is actually concrete action, at least a concrete step being taken towards restarting hostage release negotiations, with word now from a U.S. official that the head of the CIA, Bill Burns, has now met in Warsaw in Europe with his Qatari and Israeli counterparts to see about getting those discussions moving again. I will say again and again, that is something that
Yeah, now they're trying to save face and pretend that they care about having the hostages released after their murder of three hostages.
we hear from people here in this country, that they want to see those talks start. They want to see them now. Garrett?
I'm not going to be able to get over the idea of that father saying he lost his son twice. I mean, that's just such a haunting way to look at all this.
Though he didn't say he lost his son twice, he said that the Israeli government murdered his son twice. those are different words.
We mentioned at the top the idea that Secretary Austin was in Israel today. What do we hear from him publicly? What do we understand him to be communicating behind the scenes to the Israeli government?
Yeah, that's like a good way to think about it, Garrett, that dichotomy and that framing, because publicly the Secretary of Defense is coming out and reiterating very strongly the U.S.'s support for Israel in its war here against Hamas after that terror attack on October 7th. That was clear from his news conference with reporters earlier today here in.
I mean, honestly, does the United States actually care about terrorism when they themselves commit a lot of terrorism? The fact that they're supporting the Israeli government, who is committing terrorism and funds terrorists like the Israeli settlers who are terrorizing Palestinians.
In Tel Aviv here in Israel. Behind the scenes, we understand from multiple sources that the Biden administration has been making clear they would like to see Israel move to the next phase of its operation, the less intense phase of its operation. Sometime in the fairly near future, if you will, although they have not publicly specified what kind of a timeline there would be. But I will tell you that according to a senior defense official, that was a key part or one of the parts of the secretary's conversations with his Israeli counterpart, with leaders.